vision, leadership, workplace-related topics. The Voices of Victory podcast show. Subscribe today. Let's go.
Vision, leadership, self-esteem, workplace-related topics.
Subscribe.
The Voices of Victory podcast show.
Voices of Victory.
Vision,
Voices of Victory.
leadership,
Voices of Victory.
workplace-related topics.
The Voices of Victory.
Voices of Victory. Voices of Victory. Voices of Victory.
It's time for the show. You are now listening to the Voices of Victory podcast show.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mario Di Leone.
Hello and welcome to Voices of Victory podcast. I am your host, Mario Di Leone, and today we got a wonderful guest, a repeat guest who's been back on this show. He was been on the show before, and now he's coming back. Evangelos Taxiarchis, the founder from NoLimitEmails.com. And what he's going to do is he's going to provide us with some information about email marketing. And those people who have podcasts who are indeed listening, or if you are a business out there, you should really tune in and listen. We do talk about technology on this channel. We do talk about technology as it relates to business, as it relates to leadership. And we're going to discuss NoLimitEmails.com and their offerings, like what they actually offer. But I think what's really important is that if you're a startup company or a business or a podcaster or someone that uses emails, mass amount of emails, then this is actually going to be for you. And Evan, I just want to start by asking you a few questions today because I don't know anything about it. And it would be good for the public to also know more, right? Why not? That's what it's all about. So feel free, just kind of I want to just welcome you, Evan. Just thank you for coming on and just wanted you to say hi. And we're going to go through some questions together.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me back for second time around. I really enjoyed our previous conversation. Yes, my name is Evangelos Taxiarchis. I am one of the guy behind No Limit Emails. We found No Limit Emails literally because me personally having problem, well as my partner having a problem with emails. And we decided to do something about it a few years ago. Started a project called NoLimitEmails.com. And that led us basically to this conversation second time round. I really appreciate you having time and guesting me once more. Absolutely. I'd love to answer your questions and with my best ability and honesty, and let's go.
Yeah, my first one, which is really I'm a novice. You know what I mean, Evan? When it comes to email marketing, I'm a novice. I don't know certain things. So it's good for the public to know. When it comes to, volume limitations, like emails that have a limit or the volume limit, right? Like, why do mainstream email services out there, why do they impose those limits or those volume caps, why do they have a limit to begin with?
Majority have a limit because share hosting situation. And also, majority that limit people to basically capitalize on user a little bit more, basically cost them more money on hypothetical. Literally, is kind you could say it is artificial limitation being put on people.
Mm. Now, when people if there's a customer, let's say I'm a podcaster, and I start exceeding these limits, how does that affect me as a business? How does that affect me? If I decide to exceed those limits?
Normally, you get little bit penalties, of course, extra fees, and that is kind of becomes a little bit bigger problem if kind of volumes are big. Imagine that you are only small business, but you use the system that instead of sending 5,000, you send 150,000. And suddenly now your price was according to the 5,000. Now they can even charge you as a little bit as if you found a private phone line per emails and etc. So the prices goes up, and that pushes you as a beginner or somebody that is kind of established even in jeopardy of basically not able to afford the fees to the platforms they use.
Wow. So in other words, if I decide to go over my limit of emails, essentially what's happening, I'm just going to get hit with a bill. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, absolutely, with hefty one as well, and is on repeat. So obviously, most majority of those systems are they obviously monthly as well as credit based stuff, and that becomes very costly if you are scaling up and try to grow beyond what you could do today. Like let's say you had a just small group of people that you reach out, anything from 1,000 to 10,000. And then anything from 10,000 to a million becomes a big problem. And anything from million to 10 million becomes even bigger problem when you have this kind of charges in place.
Wow. Now, I guess though, so for companies, for podcasters like me, and for companies, pretty much you're going to get hit with a pretty hefty bill just by going over the limit. Now, what happens when it comes to like deliverability? Like if there's a problem with it being delivered, for example, what factors influence email deliverability? In terms of the rates, the actual financial rates, what they have to pay in conventional email services, like. If I decide to send 100,000 emails, right? What influences whether or not they're delivered? And of course, maybe if I lose money with that, is there a way that I lose money with that?
Yeah, absolutely. On share hosting, you have this unknown area. You don't know is it delivered or not. Even you send, but you really don't have a good kind of data back from the providers. Is it that email actually being delivered or not? Yes, definitely can cost you more, can even cost you really losing your kind of bottom line for the marketing, so to speak, your budget very quick. Deliverability is a very important part, and majority that really relies on few factors. One is a secure line of communication and reputable communication line specifically set up for email with authentication. That everybody who received the email, let's say you send an email to Gmail want to know, are you the worthy people to receive email from or not? So it falls down to basically in the end is trust. Is this specific emailer or a person has a good enough trust or not when it comes to deliverability? And in the end really relies on a good authenticated handshake, so to speak, to deliver message from one node to the other. And this is lacking in majority of the share hostings. That's why deliverability is so dismal on them. And the differences in here, a difference is basically is kind of you have a good authenticated site with secure and dedicated IP that's trackable by ISPs that you send email, and then you have this share hosting with even maybe kind of not so real IPs that emails being sent through. So that's the big difference when it comes to deliverability. Have a private lane, or would you kind of have it the other way, which is normally unknown?
Gotcha. Now, how does services like No Limit Emails, how do you guys address like spam folder placement? Like, how does that work?
Spam folder placement again is related to that reputation once more, but then also we have kind of tools in place that will tell us if the receiver inbox is actually being classed as a spam receiving inbox, and well as the user themselves are actually sending spam as well, be it that with their current email, or be it that their name is attached to somewhere else that they're doing that kind of activities. As you all know, really, if you're in the internet, doesn't matter. You could use many kind of fake names or pseudonyms, but in the end, still ties it to the real human doing this kind of stuff. On that side of it is basically important why we handle spam detection, spam folder, spam identification in a way that not intruding people's lives is just based on really what real interaction data they have previously on the internet, according to the email, let's say they registered with us or opted in one of our forms. So essentially, if somebody opted in a form that we produce, the system will take care of it. Is it really this email is authentic or not? And obviously, everything falls down to the real-time authentication and verification. So if we can't do that, then that means there's issues that you could go to spam, go to anywhere else. And of course, this falls down to also the email content itself, the writer who's write email, what's the purpose of it, what's the end goal is. Is it misleading, or is it actually just try to, sell a snake oil to someone? Of course, with the help of AI detection, and today's big companies use a lot of filters, and in conjunction with the rules and laws, we put the filters and system in place to not even allow us to communicate with somebody's inbox is full, for example. So we created systems. If I send the 200,000 emails at one go, and not knowing which email inbox is full, it will diminish my deliverability and reputation overall. So we put those things in place to prevent, basically, let's say, foul play.
Foul play. Wow. Now, I know, like, with certain types of companies that are out there, like other companies that are similar to what you guys do, they have account suspensions, and some of them are really strict with maybe, with the way they suspend some of the accounts, right? What are the most common reasons for account suspension in the traditional platforms that are out there? The other platforms that are out there?
The other platforms out there, obviously, everyone is different. They have a different TOS. But in generally speaking, most of them anti-spam, in essence, of course. But you could send an email that mention, let's say, name or sect, or kind of really, as you know, so many thousands of words now being classed as a spam. So they could pick up single word and suspend your account. Literally.
Wow.
Because you do not have a control over what they put it in TOS, what is actually covered is not clear.
Yeah.
And of course, if they say, okay, you mentioned something on your subject line or in your content, this deemed the breaking the TOS, then you get suspension. And obviously, when your account suspended, especially on active email accounts, your business stops. And it's very, very harmful in the end user point of view. And obviously, this happens quite a lot and a regular. Even you get, obviously, when you get account suspension, they have a right to not let you in again. And it's happened to me personally a few times, and it's real. It does happen, and does happen quite often. Not many people really reporting it. I think probably people feel a little bit shame. That's why they don't report this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And we try to prevent all that. We don't really suspend counts in our network unless it's something totally severe. And we like to educate them what is really wrong and how can they put it right. That is another thing's missing from many other service providers. They really do not provide any one-to-one or human-to-human conversation.
Yeah. You mean they have the 7-day ticket problem, right? Like, look, go ahead and put a Zendesk ticket in there, and we're going to wait 7 to 10 days or some kind of ticketing system. That's the worst. You guys, I've noticed that you guys are face to face. That if I have a problem with my email, I can speak to you face to face. Am I correct?
Absolutely, yeah. It's like we are human to human, face to face, problem solved on the same page type of mentality and setup. So imagine that you are our customer. You had an issue, and we just jump on a live like this, and you share your screen, we share our screen, and we look to the issue there and there and fix it there and there.
Wow, that's awesome. See, that's like what we call white glove service. It's wonderful. Now, if I'm a business, like I'm a business, right? I need to ensure compliance, but still avoiding maybe accidental or arbitrary suspensions. Like, what can I do as a company or as a business to make sure that I'm compliant to avoid suspension?
On the back-end compliances, all the rules and regulations that is obviously covers from data point of view, data ownership.
Yep.
There is nothing illegal in the world that say you cannot own somebody else's data. So that part of it is legal, but there is obviously rules how you could use this and utilize this. So we always advise use openly available public data. You never get issue, you never get a problem. Because all legitimate businesses registered in some sort of databases around the world by the governments, by the institutions, by private providers, by advertisers. So the data itself is not an issue. Obviously, utilizing and using the data legally we cover in the back end of it all authenticated, obviously with a DKIM, with SPF, well as obviously traceable, detectable, dedicated IP. So if anything goes wrong, anyone around the world could sue us. So that's basically in the core of it is all about really data legitimization based on the system that is authenticated in the back end. So you have all the records. Without those, obviously, you cannot really even send a large amount of emails. So as an ideal world, everyone should be allowed to own certain amount of data. And because everyone else is kind of like having everybody else's data on the internet, so to speak, and it's publicly available data, you could utilize without breaking any rules of anybody.
Yeah. Wow. Now, in terms of platforms, like some platforms, they offer templates, customization of templates. I know that No Limit Emails, you guys can do email templates and campaigns differently. Tell us a little bit about how you guys are different from some of the other platforms out there.
Because our backend is open source, it's very flexible. Literally, you could pick any website, any design, any kind of form of something that you like, even the forms, and you can model them. That's instantly you could create, let's say I was a CNN, and you go to CNN.com, you like the page, you could basically model that page within the infrastructure, the templating. Essentially, let's say you have your own website and you want your website to be your email. And you simply import your website source code to the email and you have the website that you could edit within the email. Templating itself, there is many of them already exist in Moetic, is very, very similar to the WordPress or any other page creator. So you could create literally whatever your imagination is. Yeah.
Wow. Now, when it comes to how does No Limit Emails enhance the customization of everything without compromising, let's say, usability?
Because the back end of it is literally you can't mess about. So visually you can do things. That is really flexible, so you can build, edit in any given time. Because back end is you don't break, you could make many variation of content pieces. Yeah, and that way is more kind of flexible. Let's say you have a really very well written, let's say sales page, or invitation page, or any kind of offer page. If you like, that is kind of proven that convert for your business, you don't want to lose that essence of things. So you can immediately almost duplicate it in the system for yourself. And that is flexibility gives you. So you are designing basically block by block to fit exact your brand need. And obviously your communication need. Like your communication could be today, let's say you are a lawyer, and you want to do emails like lawyers do, and then imagine that you are a shopkeeper, you also want to do email like shopkeeper. So it's literally for us is because backend is open source, is flexible, you could build your ideas.
Okay. Now my question for you, this is a good one, is let's talk about subscriber management. People sign up for your mailing list, they become a subscriber, right? So what are the challenges that exist in some of the other platforms, and how are you guys different when it comes to managing the number of subscribers, managing, let's say, the list at large?
All right, it's very obvious. Like the subscriber is the most important part of the emails, and the other systems, the user is being pushed to the corner to just have one list. And in no limit emails, you can have literally infinite amount of lists. So instead of having pushed everybody that you collect as your business data to one list, and imagine that you have a free offer, somebody opted in, free is in that list. Imagine that you have somebody bought your product is in that list. So you have no way to separate them, no way to know who's who, in order for you to communicate proper. And the no limit email system allows you that separation happen easy because you can control many lists in same place.
Okay. Now, when it comes to I'm going to ask you a question. We talk about segmentation and targeting, right? Can you tell us a little bit about what segmentation and targeting is? I believe segmentation is separating the markets, in that way. Can you tell us a little bit about how you guys streamline that stuff where they have customer segments and the way they're targeted? Are you able to give me a little insight to that?
Sure. Obviously, segmentation is an important part of knowing where is the leads are at, in this journey of basically from opt-in and to the point of basically that they become a paid member or subscriber. So segmentation is based on the industries, based on the individuals, based on the business niches. These are the important kind of elements within the email. But you cannot do this when you have just one list related to subscriber kind of tool. So you have to have the tools that literally let's say I send an email, only 10 people read my email, but the rest of them didn't read. And I need to have a way to just reach out to this 10 people only with different communication. And segmentation does allow you to do that, especially the system that we built, obviously in conjunction with open source technologies. So the segmentation of different clients, different niches, and is important today as well because allows us to communicate really that next step of communication more clearly, what the intention was. Obviously, you could send intent-based kind of emails out. So, and there's also interest-based emails out in order for you to segment different quality of the leads or within the system so you can have a better outcome.
So it sounds like to me that when we talk about marketing segmentation, it's the process of dividing the broad target market into smaller specific groups. For example, if we were talking about let's say fitness, the fitness industry, right? That would be okay, young adults, right? We got young adults versus maybe people that are retired, right? Am I thinking correctly along that?
Yeah, absolutely right. It's basically imagine that you got an orange in your hand, and let's say this was the whole list, and then you peel the orange. You start revealing tiny little segments of the orange.
Okay.
And then if you've seen a bad one in it, you obviously take it out. So that is the logic of segmentation, really, in the nature of things. It allows us to see exactly what is best, what is to keep, what's not to keep. Also, what is to prioritize, what's not to prioritize, so you can save time and organize in a manner that the communication have to flow the direction that you set it up to flow. That's the important part of really email segmentation, and not just basically segmenting the business side, but also segmenting the quality of that interactions you have with that specific people that on the lists.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Now, when it comes to some of the other platforms out there, the other competitors, let's say, and we don't have to mention the name, but they have cost barriers, right? We understand that these other organizations, these other platforms, they have cost barriers. How do these pricing structures or these cost barriers, how is it actually hurting their business versus what you guys are actually doing? Like, because I understand you guys are doing things right. What's your thoughts on that? In terms of traditional pricing versus how you guys do it.
I personally believe like everyone got a right to price what they offer. But in essence of what we do, comparison other kind of firms do, we do not have a power to change what they do. We have a power put in place what we do. What we done is basically price freeze on email. And what main competitors do, obviously they have a lot more bigger kind of like overheads and a lot more bigger kind of, let's say, institutional setup and as huge companies. So they have a lot of wages and a lot of responsibilities to pay, a lot of rents to pay. So that goes on a cost of basically end user who is in part of their specific systems. That's why the price is very, very expensive. And in the end, literally, it doesn't allow you as an individual to grow the way that nature allows us to make it happen. And this is where we are different. We just price basically. That is, we believe. I personally believe we, as in the business, we need to know what is the cost for me to run a car from A to B.
Right.
10 mile, how much is the gas going to cost?
Right.
And in this other systems, you really don't know. There is no one area. But with us, we know that it cannot exceed a single cent according to the price is set.
Wow.
And it obviously gives the end user peace of mind that they know that really it doesn't matter what volume they do, their cost is not going to change.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about because we're going to be dealing with a lot of startups. A lot of startups listen to me out there. Can no limit emails offer cost-effective options for startups? If I'm a first-time startup technology company and I need this, right? What is some of the options for a startup company?
I mean, one of the biggest challenge for all startup companies, including ourselves, is obviously outreach. So that is the biggest part of the really equation when anybody start a business. So no limit emails allow you to turn data to your own outreach, and obviously you have no limitation how many people that you could upload and have a potential to outreach them. And also obviously this price freeze, like for example, currently $67 will get whole system for you, and normally this is not possible in anywhere else. Because startups need a really full infrastructure in the back end to save the cost. Normally they don't have need a technical team or need a really kind of places that they could trust to build the whole infrastructure on.
Wow.
Obviously, because there is not theirs and it's third party. In our case, it's actually theirs. So obviously, if they don't trust themselves, they're not going to build it. So we basically build a whole system for them and brand it with their name and domain. So there is congruency with their own basically entity, whatever startup they try to do. For startup, as you kind of have an experience yourself, let's say this podcast, a normal outreach is very costly and very time consuming.
Sure.
And then with system like no limit emails, the startup has the power to reach many people as possible without really exceeding any extra costs. And obviously have in less wages to pay out to do this task is another key. Because every startup need to have a certain amount of technological people understanding stuff in the back end of whatever they're building. And essentially we become the technical team for communication. Right. And without them paying our development wages. So we alleviate quite a big pain on startups, especially when it's come to the proper communication setup for actually handle the millions and millions of people if their business going to kind of, let's say, exceed their expectation, grow very fast.
Right. Wow. Now, I got a great question for you. When it comes down to data ownership, okay, I know that some other platforms out there is some of these other platforms, they don't allow their customers to fully own the subscriber data, to control the actual data. Let me give you an example. I know a couple of companies that do this, Evan, is that they'll have, you upload your list, right? You upload your entire list, right? And then your list becomes 10,000 people more, right? Then all of a sudden the customer says, you know what? I don't want to use the platform anymore. I want to leave the platform. So they say, well, how do I download everything again so I can exit the platform? And then what the platform does is they say, sorry, if you download everything, you can't download it. You're not allowed to download it. We'll download it for you, but you're going to have to pay a $3,000 premium for such a thing, right? So how does that happen where, these organizations, they control the subscriber data like that? How do you guys make things better? Because I know that you guys like to innovate and make change.
Yes, absolutely. This problem is quite big. I also myself have exactly that experience. And that is another part of that problematic area of the data ownership is really important. On no limit emails, when we set up a system for clients has 100% the right to the data. They can download, upload, delete is whatever time they want, even the time if they leave. We give them 30 days extra to download all the data if they want. And if, of course, they can also make a request. We download and send them without any fees.
Oh, wow. That's pretty wild. That's awesome. Now, in terms of ensuring the privacy, how do you guys, because I know there's a lot of things that happen on the back end, right? We got front end development, back end development, right? When it comes to data ownership, not data ownership, but privacy, what happens with that in order to help the customer kind of with their privacy related stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Privacy is an important part of the whole thing that we do. And we really hold that high. Privacy wise, because we're setting up everything on your domain, you have ownership of everything. We are working behind the scene, basically without kind of much of basically say in your own business. So the data that you bring and introduce to your own domain, we believe that you have the right to own it as yours. We didn't upload it. And therefore, literally ownership and obviously safety is important because it's only you know that data you uploaded, and maybe we know that you uploaded that data as your admin, obviously you maintainer. Yeah. And of course, this is important. You put a trust in us, we put a trust in you to do the right things either ways for both sides. And of course, we use really secure protocols for domains to operate. For example, there is no system can operate right now without SSL. So for data and privacy and security itself, that part is very important, and it's also very, very costly. Okay. So one part of equation of privacy is about, okay, we can be private. Can we actually be also safely private? What's our security is, okay, we could put file in here, but how secure is it? So that part itself for us is one of the most important kind of elements, obviously keeping data for the communication. So the communication data and privacy is must. And we are kind of doing everything on our end to be basically one of the best, safe, secure places that we could hold our own data.
Well, that's pretty awesome. Now, how do you guys integrate CRM, like customer relationship management? Do you guys have plugins or anything like that? How do you guys integrate those services?
For integration, currently Moetic, I think, integrates with around 7,000 different kind of service providers.
Wow.
As well as you could just hook it to the Zapier, or Zapier equivalents could be a Make, could be basically any
automation. Like automation, basically, is what you're telling me. Is the automation can be integrated into it?
Yes, obviously you can use. Wow. You can also use webhooks or RSS feeds and things like that, also to integrate your system.
Wow!
And not just that, if you are technically able, you can create your own plugins and activate plugins for yourself in your own system.
So it's pretty simplified. It sounds like you guys really simplified it in a great way. That's awesome. Wow. Do you guys have any tools for like what do you do to ensure legal compliance, right? You know what I mean? Is there any tools for stuff like that or anything that has to do with to ensure legal compliance with emailing?
Yeah, absolutely. We do all the authentication and as well as insurance in the back end of our own SMTP and as our own IPs. So when we activate system for, let's say, users, they don't have to worry about really anything illegal being conducted. Everything legally authenticated by the basically good authenticators that are out there in the internet. And well as compliances with basically every law of every land that we do not have an intention neither to be harmful or to be misused. We have that authentication in place, well as obviously we also have a bit of a one-to-one user interaction all the time, what's right things to do, and help everybody to do the emailing and the communication basically legally.
Wow. That's crazy. Now, let me ask you this. I heard this term in the email marketing circles called open rate tracking. I don't know what that is. Can you tell me a little bit about what open rate tracking is? And some platforms seem to struggle with the accuracy of that.
Yeah, obviously, like there are many different tracking facilities or providers out there. People can, even URL shorteners and all that. Email tracking is important and really is very, very important for delivery point of view, especially as an sender. So as a sender, at No Limit Emails, we look two factors.
Right.
We press the send. Where did it end? And can we track it back? Where does it actually end? And that's basically the tracking for the email per open rates. And some of them, they are not that accurate. That's why they can't provide good, accurate kind of information.
Well, yeah.
So for us, it's just like let's say passengers try to get Uber. And where was the Uber is, which part of the map at they are, where they picked up, where they dropped. And it's all who's opened it, who is interacted with it internally, who scrolled it, and how long they scrolled it, how many links they went back on that email to click. All that is tracked basically as your open rates. We believe open rates, especially scroll read rates, are the more important metrics to look in the email. That's why we have read rates, not open or clicked. But generally, end of the day, you want that. What is the unique click? So there's tracking.
So basically, there's a lot of ways here. You guys measure. You not only track it, but you also have ways to measure that, which is really, really good. Do you have anything for advanced analytics at all? Like, do you guys do stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. You have a dashboard with your advanced analytics, what emails you send, what emails failed, what emails been unsubscribed, all that kind of stuff.
That's awesome.
All kind of normal standard analytics, but then we also kind of enrich them with stuff that we build. For example, some of the stuff that we build in the context of email is about reputation feedback. If you send 10 emails, they were all bad, the system will notify, hey, those emails are a little bit bad, you need to improve.
I agree. Now, you guys have great support, especially when it's face-to-face live stream. Other platforms, they have limitations in their traditional support. How is those traditional types of support, how is it hurting those other businesses out there in terms of, because you got to remember, if I'm a small business, right, Evan, if I'm a small guy and I go to one of these other platforms, right, and they're limited in support, how is that hurting me as the customer?
Well, it's kind of like obvious if you don't get literally, let's say you fall down and injured yourself.
Yeah.
And you broken your arm. I don't wish that to you, but imagine that scenario.
We'll play with that.
Yeah, so imagine that scenario. You need that emergency fix, emergency look after, right? And if you don't get support on email, especially on email that is very important business emails that you want to do the business with it, and you lose time and money. And if you don't have a really that solid kind of support and something that you do in affecting your business, that's mean literally they helping the business to fail.
Yeah.
And also costly fail. And that's where we changed things. We says, okay, this is business. When something break, and have to be that emergency stuff that somebody can talk to them right there and then.
Right there and then. I agree. I couldn't agree more. Now, when it comes to automation, we discussed the automations a little bit earlier, and sometimes there's restrictions or limits with automations. Like here I am, I do leadership consulting. I'm also a podcast, but I'm creating a course. I'm in the middle of creating a course right now. And, I want to do a drip campaign, where there's like 7 days. It emails a different module, for 7 days, it'll email stuff. So what are the limits on your automations, and how do you guys do like drip campaigns for like follow-ups?
Yeah, it's very, very simple, really, like when it comes to this drip feed campaigns. So we have the tool, literally, you could write, basically make a campaigns that can run either for 7 days or 7,000 days. So that is literally when you set up one campaign, you could keep adding days. And when it comes to the really drip campaigns, you want to really to know which day, which email goes out. You can easily set it up and obviously activate them. It's literally like a
schedule.
Yeah, like a scheduler and like a contact calendar type thing. Yeah. And you just basically make a campaign, let's say 7 days or 15 days emails. You can line up your emails day after day and send them and see basically like run all the automation you need. But as within the automation, you have tools that we got is very flexible. Let's say you run 7-day automation and 4th day things didn't work very well. And the 4th day you want to do something else in that automation, you can get in and do those changes. It's like kind of like not one time publish, is actually publish on active edit.
Wow.
So any given time you can get into those campaigns and re-edit them, change the content and all that kind of stuff.
That's pretty cool. Now, if I'm sending out an email, like maybe an email to somebody, right? We'll do like a big mass email. I'm the sender. I have a reputation. What does No Limit Emails have to maybe help the sender maintain reputation? Is there any tools for that can help me maintain my reputation in terms of how things are being said? Maybe certain technologies or boundaries in place that will help me.
Yes, absolutely. Like in No Limit Emails, we have backend really pretty solid and almost looks 360 degree of the problematic issues that occurs within the email and especially within reputation. And according to that, we have kind of intelligence tools to help individual sender to not diminish their reputation. And of course, the goal is in here, not diminish reputation, to actually have a good reputation so that emails, when you send, it goes to the direction that's supposed to go. And as important part of whole equation, reputation is literally one of the major issue in the world of email stuff. We set up intelligence tools to help us and guide us to make sure that really we keep within the parameters of things, and as well as if something that we passing parameters is kind of give us indication that we need to like either basically kind of turn it down or turn it up.
Turn it up.
So it's essentially is your parameter of good communication, obviously depending on that reputation 100%, and we never want that reputation to hit zero. In many thousands of email systems we set up so far. And this is important. If you can't detect what is good and what is bad, you cannot really detect the reputation.
Yeah, you can, absolutely.
We have all that technology behind the scene that helps us to, for example, I can log and send campaign to 10,000 people. I don't have to worry about me burning my IP because the system internally already taking care of that. If something that I did as a user, let's say, going to harm that reputation, system filtering is already in place to prevent that happening. For example, we have some users, they just out of the accident send 10 million emails. And we don't want them to destroy their reputation. We don't want them burn their domains. So we have filters in place. Can we double check this? Can we triple check this?
Wow.
So there is basically kind of few safety nets in place in our system that literally helps me to do kind of emailing that out of the blue. I just sent 50,000 emails to somebody I didn't know.
Wow.
So that's the key for us is really two factors. One is about really the data quality, and the other is really user reputation is obviously essential.
Wow. Let me ask you this: if I'm a small company, I start expanding, let's say next year or the year after, scalability is always a principle. That the company is going to be scaling up and scaling up quickly. The traditional services sometimes can't keep up with the scalability, but I know No Limit Emails has that ability to scale with the growing needs. How do you guys scale with the growth of a business? So how do you help them scale?
Scalability definitely one of the major challenges in any business and any kind of obviously in any niche. When we look scalability for email, always been problematic in industry wise, and we decided to do something about that. So majority the scalability comes to the really power of data process. And many systems out there, they do not have a full infrastructure to process the data fast and quick and safe. So we put a basically system in place, enable us to do that. Essentially, let's say I just uploaded 50,000 emails to the system. As my upload finishes, the system already verified. If I have my email already written, I can directly send to it. So the scaling numbers with No Limit Emails, we also kind of made flexibly enough. Not necessarily that maybe one count not enough for you to scale. Maybe 2 counts not be enough. Maybe 3. But we try to reduce those elements of basically many count creations to specifically a single component. And so therefore you could have one single system to scale to the whatever numbers is being assigned to. Or you can have multiple systems that you could scale even further. And this is where is like so different No Limit Emails. As one system, you could manage many lists, for example. To scale, you need to have a system that you could create many lists and many data points. And No Limit Emails basically allows you to do that with absolutely no extra charge, because you just, let's say you just made extra list, or you imported extra contact or verified extra contact. There's no extra charges.
No extra charge with that. Now, when it comes to a business that's rapidly growing, they're growing very quickly. Do you guys have any options, like technologically, within the system, any options that offer the ability for rapid growth, like really quick? Like if I'm growing really fast, is there anything on the back end or inside that really is an option to support my growth as a business, like quick growth?
Yeah, absolutely. Like for us is about one-to-one interaction. If client needs more, all they do is just basically jump on one of the live room and explain to us what they want to do. And we say, okay, this is what you can do, and we activate the levels that are required for them to do so. As simple as that, basically. But also, like in account levels, when we have system with absolutely unlimited amount, and it opens up a new equation that that you could scale up to the numbers that you're never going to be penalized. So there is basically a system in place we can grow infinite amount of contacts in a system that literally scalability becomes a thing of the past. So you already scaling beyond what's possible.
Beyond what's possible. All right. Well, listen, first of all, Evan, I just want to thank you for dropping by. And it was awesome to have you on the show again. And thank you for speaking today. I got a question for you. What are the ways that people could reach you? What are the packages and the options that you guys have? And like, how do they get in touch with you if they're going to get in touch with you? Let's talk about just how can they reach you? What are your options? And how can they reach out to you?
Sure. They can reach out to me basically by LinkedIn. Just put Evangelos Taxiarchis and reach out to me. Or go to the YouTube, just punch in No Limit Emails. You will come across lots of live videos that I'm doing. And when it comes to the packages, we have 5 packages available that to the public starts from $67 that allows you to send 100,000 emails with dedicated IP, all the way to the no limit counts, which is currently $397, but there is a couple in between, like 97, 197, and 397. So, and also we do it all for you. All user does is provide us a domain and data. And we do the rest of the basically content creation, email automation, sending, list management for them.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, do you have a schedule for when you live stream on, let's say, YouTube? Do you have a schedule that like a certain day or certain time that you actually stream?
Yes, we are definitely live streaming every day on YouTube between 8 and 10 p.m. GMT. Okay. So between 8 and 10, we normally live. At least one stream a day on YouTube. And of course, we also have a public meeting rooms, our own private rooms with Meet No Limit Emails live tool. That's what we're recording this on. And everybody can also utilize that and make room, invite us just like you did to me.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to say thank you again for coming on. And I just want to say thank you for everybody who's actually been listening. That was Evangelos Taxiarchis, the founder from NoLimitEmails.com. Feel free to reach out to him on LinkedIn. He will definitely have a nice, wonderful, warm conversation and figure out what your needs are and help you move in that direction in terms of email marketing, in terms of No Limit Emails. Evan, again, thank you one more time. And you have a great day.
Thank you so much for having me next time. And I'm sure we will do it again. Thank you so much.
All right, we'll do. All right. Okay, stop the recording. Okay, I stopped the recording. And now let me see. I got to go ahead and save.